Welcome to Restorative Exercises. This session is presented as part of the Ottawa Public Library's Get Active at Home series. My name is Cassie Love. I'm going to guide you through this restorative exercise class. We'll cover balance, core, and our back. What we're going to need for today's class is a safe space to practice balance. So if you need to hang on to a wall, having a wall is very handy. It's also nice to have a chair, a kitchen chair, or something stable to hang on to. For the end, relaxation, if you own a yoga bolster, you'd want a yoga bolster. And what I did was I just rolled up a blanket to create a kind of bolster. And then a pillow, or I have here a towel. So let's get started. Welcome, my name is Cassie Love. In today's class, it is really important to make sure that we're not going to get dizzy and fall over, that we are always safe in our exercise space. And sometimes people will experience nauseous, dizziness, or vertigo. So if you experience any of these instabilities in your practice, absolutely you're going to want to stop. If you do know that you have vertigo or that you have a tendency to get dizzy to the point where you feel nauseous, definitely skip things that don't make sense for you in your body. You may always listen in and join in when you feel more stable or comfortable. Let's get started. The first exercise is known as the hip lift. It is to strengthen the outside of the hip muscles. Let's stand up and draw the feet wide. I'm going to teach some of these exercises on our bed or using a walker. So depending on your energy level, you can do this in bed, you can do it standing or with a walker. So if we are in bed, we want to roll over to our left side and lie down, bending your knees, cradling your head. So I'm going to demonstrate how it would look like if I was in my bed. So I'm lying down and my head is properly supported. So we can allow the head to relax. You can keep your head anywhere that feels comfortable. Lifting the leg and slowly lowering the leg down. Taking breaks as needed. We want to watch for the foot and the leg rolling open. Keep the foot facing forwards. Imagine the leg lengthening and slowly lifting and slowly lowering down. The other cheat is to go really fast and just sort of toss our leg around. So the slower we go, we keep the hip still, only move the leg in the hip and lowering down. If you are on your bed, you can continue. We want to do about 10 on this side. And then if we're standing, you may always use a support if you have your walker, or we can simply stand with the legs a little bit wide. Hands can come on the hips or can stay on the walker. And we want to shift the hip all the way over down to the left. So I'm going to shift my hip down, press the hip down, and then allow the hip to come back to center. You can gaze down with your eyes. We want the outside of the feet facing forwards. Press the left hip down to squeeze the muscles on the left hip. Press the left foot down. Press the whole left leg down. Hip comes back to center. Pressing the left hip down, squeeze the left hip, press the left heel of the foot down, left leg is pressing down. Outside of the hip muscles are firing, coming back to center. If it is easy, hands come up by the shoulders, keep the shoulders still and only squeeze the muscles on the outside of the lateral hip to get the hip moving. Let's take 2 more with the left leg squeezing down and coming back to center. Same thing if we are on or holding the walker, we're trying to press the left hip down and coming back to center. by squeezing the outside of the left leg and allowing it to come to center. Last time, squeezing down, pressing the leg down, squeezing the left leg muscle and coming back to center. Right leg, we double check, are the outside of my feet facing forwards? Toes may even be pigeon-toed in. Hands can always come to the hips. Press the right hip down, squeeze the right hip muscles on the side of the leg. Hip comes back to center. Again, we can be rocking and just kind of wiggling our hips, or we can go very slow. Observe with your eyes. You can hold with your right hand, press the right hip down, squeeze the outside of the hip muscles, release the squeeze of the muscles so the hip comes back to center. Press the right hip down, press the right heel, the foot down, squeeze the right leg muscles a lot, come back to center. Smiling can help. Breathing helps. Pressing the right leg down, squeezing the right hip a lot. If you are in bed, you should have switched sides by now. Press the right leg down, press the hip, squeeze the hip down, allow the hip to come back to center. Let's do a few more, and if you can, keep your shoulders still. You may observe how much your shoulders want to move, how easy it is to hold our breath doing this. And letting it go. So the lateral hip muscles, these hip muscles that we were just trying to turn on with the hip lift, these muscles are in charge of strengthen our hips and keeping us balanced. What we want to try to do is figure out these lateral hip muscles so that we're not kind of balancing and wobbling when we're walking or when we're practicing standing on one leg, so that we can squeeze the leg muscles, hold the bones, and squeezing the muscles creates stability. Rather than hoping and wobbling in these quick sort of adjustments where we might be trying to figure out which muscles we should be turning on, but we're not sure. So we want to isolate these muscles to turn on and strengthen so that when we do need to balance or we start walking, which is usually a single-legged balance, we are able to isolate those muscles, squeeze those muscles, use those muscles to move the leg, to hold the leg stable while we balance. And then when the muscles get tired, we take a break. Second exercise, the monster walk, turning these on and strengthening these muscles. If we are in bed, it is the same as the hip lift, so you can always listen or you can continue with the hip lifts, starting to roll over to the left side to begin with the right side. We are using a chair or we're using a walker. You may not feel comfortable to lift one leg right up off the floor, so you can continue to shift the hips left and right and see if you can find the lateral hip muscles. It might be a matter of trying to get the knees straight, observing if the pelvis is far forwards and we are hunched, reaching the hips back over the heels, seeing if the legs are bent, straightening the knees, and then shifting the weight left to right. The more open our feet are, the more wide, the easier it is to sort out those side hip muscles, lateral hip muscles. If your sit bones are reaching back, it can be easier to find those muscles. Eventually, we want to be upright so that it's more of a challenge with the upper body weight So we're lifting our own body weight. If we want to hang on to something for the monster walk, let's ground down through the left leg. We can hip lift the left hip down so the left leg is really strong. Holding onto a wall or a chair. Draw the right hand to the hip, reach the right leg out, slowly reaching it out, allowing the right leg to rest back down. Inhale, reach the right leg out, slowly letting the leg come down. Do not allow the right hip to squeeze out and up. Keep the pelvis stable, keep the hips really still, and only move the femur leg bone as far as we can reach, and then allowing it to come back down. Now, if you notice that your body is leaning a lot to the left to get your leg up, don't lift your leg so high. You might just have the foot kind of on the floor, the toe might trace the floor, squeezing the right lateral hip and coming back to center. So I've done about 6, 7, smiling, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then you might want to just wiggle that free and let it go. To come to the left side, we want to anchor down through the right. See if you are sort of shifting the hip a lot to the right. We're going to press the hip in and try to press the right hip down to stabilize the right leg. Left foot is facing forwards. Left heel of the leg starts to reach out and gently coming back down. Reach the left leg out and coming back. Inhaling to reach. Exhaling, slow, slow, slow. Inhale, reach long through the heel, reach the leg really long, slowly squeeze the left hip a lot, coming back. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, slow, slowly lowering down, and we let it go. I want to talk a few moments about what might weaken the lateral hips and might not be the nicest thing for our bodies. It is known as the hip hangout. Many people have a favorite hip that they enjoy hanging out on. Usually one foot comes out, the body sort of hangs on the one hip. So the hip hangout does not encourage strength to be happening in the lateral hips that we just tried to strengthen. So you might see, okay, so what is my preferred way of standing? Do I have a tendency to hip hang out? The top of the femur bone doesn't get a lot of weight bearing here, which means it might lose bone density. The muscles are not getting strengthened because we're just hanging out. Placing the hips so that they are horizontal, so that one hip bone is not higher than the other, feet underneath the hips, could potentially start to really strengthen the outside of the lateral hips. This is a nice way to have a little bit of an exercise while we are standing and out during our daily adventures. If we're at the grocery store, such an adventure. The grocery store, waiting in line, even if you have a walker or a grocery cart, you might observe if you're just sort of hanging on the cart where everything might just be weak and you have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to exercise. If you have a walker, you may always try to straighten the legs and maybe lean back to start to get those hips to turn on. You might shift the hips left to right and do the hip list in the grocery store. What else can we do if we are standing at the grocery store? Feet slowly starting to guide forwards underneath the hip bones and standing with the legs stacked vertically under the hip bones rather than maybe the hip hangout. So the third exercise is stability. They say to practice this every day for 6 minutes. That might be a challenge. I will give you tips on how to do it every day. But for now, we just want to practice stability. So if you know that you get vertigo or that you get dizzy and nauseous, you want to be very careful not to overdo it. Option to hold onto a chair. If you are in bed, you can always just listen and consider this later, or you can come to possibly standing. Wherever we are, we want to find a safe place where for sure we're not going to fall. I'm going to hang on to the chair to begin. What we want to do is find the boundary, the edge, when we start to feel unstable. Typically, it's known as a wobbly sensation. For some people, holding onto the chair and the wall with both feet on the floor, they might feel that wobbly sensation, and you're going to want to start to practice from there. If you don't feel wobbly, you can close your eyes. If you don't feel wobbly with your eyes closed, option to have the eyes open or closed, and start to shift your weight into the left leg. Observing if we are hanging out on the left hip, and can you start to engage the lateral hip to press down? The right hip will come up a little bit. Right toes could be on the floor. Foot may completely left. As you start to find that wobbly sensation, know that you can take a break if your muscles are tired or you feel dizzy. Want to find a place where we start to feel a wobbly sensation. If the eyes are open, find a fixed point for your eyes to focus on. If the eyes are closed, breathe down to the belly button. Start to see if there's a breathing pattern that can help stabilize you. Slow inhale. Slow exhale. If the eyes are open, they're fixed on something. The eyes are closed, find an anchor to breathe into a center. And then wherever you are, coming back to a neutral, you can always wiggle that free. So we just find the edge where we feel a little bit wobbly and figure out some kind of stability method. Okay? It can be breathing. This is one way. It can be finding a center inside your body. It can be noticing if the eyes are jetting everywhere and bringing the eyes to a more fixed point. Right side, option to hang on to something. Shift the weight into the right leg. You may try to straighten the right knee if it's available. Right hip may lift. Find the edge. Maybe the toes are on the floor. Option to lift the leg. Left leg may lift. Right leg is firm and steady. Finding the place where that wobbly sensation starts to happen. Eyes can be closed. Once you find the wobbly, unstable sensation, slow down your breath. Try to slow down your mind. You may think stability, stable, And then gently making our way out and letting it go. So everybody has their own individual edge of where we start to feel wobbly. You want to find that place, if you can, once a day, and figure out, rather than having those quick corrections where we're not really practicing anything, start the practice of self-awareness of what is going to work for me and my body. Okay? Again, I love lines, grocery stores, waiting for the bus, I'm waiting for my friend, whatever I'm doing. I can kind of give myself a few moments to study. 6 minutes a day, maybe it's like 3 minutes on either side, just practicing the steadiness. Closing your eyes can challenge you. If you're like, this is so easy, close your eyes, make sure you are safe. Exercise number 4 before we lie down to relax. Exercise number 4 is to discover how to drop the ribs, and then the relaxation end will be to release the psoas that might be tight, holding the ribs up. So ideally, we want the ribs in neutral for optimum health, which means that the ribs are resting down by the hips. The sternum is vertical. So I'm going to exaggerate lifting my ribs. So my sternum is now up, the chest is up, my ribs are up, and I am compressing my lower back. It definitely feels bad. It very well could be creating problems, back problems, and pain anywhere. So allowing the ribs to rest down. Some people put their hand on their sternum. Inhale, exhale, try to draw the sternum down. So we lift the sternum up, allow the sternum to rest down. Now, if you have a herniated discs or any kind of disc degeneration, if you have pain in the small of your back, actively lifting the sternum might make more pain. So don't try to lift up the sternum to draw the sternum down. You may just observe if the ribs are up a little bit, can we relax them down? So there's a lot of different ways that we can let the ribs rest down. The final way, which is going to start to enter into the psoas release, is to come to a wall. So when I'm out walking, out and about, I want my ribs down. This is neutral. It is for optimum health to reduce pain, discomfort, wear and tear of the body, okay, to slow down the aging process. Now, if I'm walking and I want my head back and I notice that when I drop my ribs, my head comes way forwards, tuck the chin and ramp the head back rather than lifting up the sternum and possibly creating more discomfort and pain in the body. If you're in your bed, you can start to collect your pillows, your blankets for the psoas release. If you want to do the psoas release standing, come to the wall and just allow your sit bones to rest on the wall and ramp the ribs back. So you can have the feet come forwards and just sort of plop your bum on the wall. You can have your hands somewhere behind you. Try to ramp the ribs back. Once you've got the small of the ribs, the ribs that are quite close to your hips, once you have those resting back as far as you can on the wall, your head and your shoulders might be way forwards, and that's fine. Once you have everything sort of resting on the wall, you might feel a sense of relief. Okay, smiling, breathing. You may choose to stay here, allowing things to decompress, allowing things a rest and a break. Palms of the hands face out, shoulders stay down, and you may explore any tension in the upper body. Taking angel arms, inhale, the arms reach out, shoulders and ribs stay down, arms may reach out and up, and then gently let it go. Arms may rest down. Observe if the arms become earrings. Try to let them come down. Just move the arm and the shoulder, keeping everything else still to surrender and release the small of the back. Now, if you're in bed or you can make your way down to the floor, I guess you could do it on the couch if you want. We've got, I've got my support here. I'm gonna move the chair out of the way. So you're gonna wanna come to the floor or position yourself so that you can reach behind you. Place a bolster behind you so that it's lengthwise so that you can lie back and support your head, your neck, and between your shoulder blades. And then you would want something handy for under your head. So I'm gonna keep this handy for under my head. Okay. And I can see that maybe if I lower this, you'll be able to see better. Let me just lower that, there we go. So if you're on your bed and sitting up and lowering back down does not work for you, this is kind of intense and uncomfortable, you can roll to your side. You can put the bolster behind you, support the head and neck, and you can roll back. Rolling back to get up onto the support behind you. Support only between the shoulder blades, the neck, and the head. And once you rest back, you have something between the shoulder blades. You may observe if the chin is really high, we want the chin down. This is where having something like a pillow or a towel is handy to draw the chin down. Place some support underneath the head to help the chin either be level with the forehead or slightly down. If you are experiencing pain, come out. If you're experiencing discomfort or something not good, come out. And you can come up higher. You can pile pillows and blankets and make your way so that you're almost upright seated. Chin is slightly down. Observe if the chin is up here too. Only between the shoulder blades, the neck, and the head. From the shoulder blades down, nothing is supported, or maybe the floor or the bed is supporting that. So come down, support between the shoulder blades, under the head. The neck should feel nice and long and comfortable. Okay, option to straighten the legs, or you could always throw a pillow underneath your knees. Let's take a slow, deep inhale. Soft exhale. Try to allow the ribs to start to rest down towards your hips. Observe if there is a kind of back bend going on behind you, and if you can allow the ribs to start to soften down. Palms of the hands face up, back of the hands may rest down. Give yourself a moment to set up so that you're comfortable. Take a long, slow, deep inhale. Slow exhale. Okay, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. I invite you to stay here and just gently breathe, allowing your body a chance to soften and relax. Turning on the rest and renew. Staying here as long as you comfortably can. Eventually, when you feel ready to come out, you may always roll to the side. You can use the arms to press up. Wherever you are, give yourself a smile. Acknowledge yourself for coming out, for doing this work. Self-care is really important. My name is Cassie Lowe.